That's right, family. We right back at it, man. It's your boy Cosmonian checking in from the atmospheric heavens one more time, one more again. Part 2. Jehovah Chronicles number 38, part 2. Truth about John Balu Newborough, aka JBN, the big homie. Shout out to everybody who already came through. You did what I'm talking about. Shout out to Lawrence Burton. Shout out Sherry Lynn. Shout out Global Purpose. Elijah 7 is in the house, man. Y'all come on in, hit that like button, man. Thumb it up. Share on all platforms. And let's not hold nothing up, man. You know what I mean? For all those who gonna come in later, let them go and come in. Catch up. You did what I'm talking about. Tell them catch up, mustard. Well, for everybody who was here earlier, we was getting into breaking down the life and times of John Balu Newborough. John Balu Newborough, the compiler of the text that is got the internet on fire. You dig what I'm talking about? Everybody talking about Owaspy, but that's not even new. Every time they come into Owaspy, it turns the world on his head, and then they try to hide it and bury it. That won't happen anymore. You know what I mean? Shout to the Creator Gang. We in the house, man. You bring them, we raise them. You dig what I'm talking about? So we right back at it. One more time again, man. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen with everybody real quick. And we're going to get back into the things we've been that you can commonly learn about John Balu Newborough. You can commonly go to any just a Google search. You know what I mean? Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. You can just go into any random Google search and just look this stuff up. But as in everything, you take everything with a grain of salt. As earlier we found out right off the bat, there are lies and miscues. If y'all can see my screen, hold on, let me see. Let me take this down real quick. Okay. And let me blow the screen up one good time. Right there, man. Let's, without further ado, let's just get back into it right there at the top. It says John Balu Newborough was a 33rd degree Mason. That is an impossibility. There are only 3 degrees in Masonry. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of know what you're talking about. You just can't talk. You know what I mean? And that's what most of these people do. They just ignorantly espouse opinion. They say his birthplace was Strasbourg, France, but then go on right in their own text and say he was born in Mohicanville, Ashland, Ohio. Huh? Okay. We got down into his career. We find out that the boy went to the West Coast. He went to the West Coast in California, got a little bread out there in the West Coast. So JBN was one of the original 49ers. Then he went to Australia and Ballarat. Anybody know about Ballarat? They got it's a big mining place out there. You know what I mean? And where he struck it for 25 grand in them days is worth a little less, 50,000 less, $950,000, so a little less than 1 meal. You dig what I'm saying? We got down here. We found out that he died in 1891 You know what I mean? And by 1900, even before then, they had already sold it and got another place ran by Howland, who had married Frances Newborough at this time. Now, mind you, that's another 10 years. So the children they seen in the 1880s, right, who were roughly about 8 at that time, 13 years later, 1888 to 1900, would have been roughly 18, 17, 16 years old. So let's get back. We found out that he had a bunch of patents. He was an inventor. He invented a car for a railway and also brakes for that car, a furnace pot, artificial teeth, a ventilator, and an exercising apparatus. You dig what I'm talking about? So JBN wasn't no slack. He was out here getting it. You know what I mean? He had married Rachel Turnbull, a sister of his Goldfield partner, John Turnbull, right? In February 24th, 1860. 1860. He's 42 years old at the time, or 32 at the time. And look, you could tell right here that JBN had not came into the information of Owaspy. He didn't know nothing about it. This is 10 years before the 10 years he had to show sufficient growth in spirit to be able to even be physically and mentally in the position to have Owaspy for him to be the vessel that the angelic host would use to write and bring Owaspy through. So look right here, it says in 1860, in the Presbyterian Church at Jedburgh, Scotland, JBN married Rachel Turnbull. As a faithist, and anybody know, we would never, ever get married in a church. That show you right there, JBN didn't know nothing about what he was about to get into. He had no clue, right? Let's go back up a little bit. Okay. Okay, we got into his inventions. Let's get into his divorce. John Baloo Newborough began having an affair, right? Hold on, first of all, John Newborough married the young Rachel Turnbull, a sister of his Goldfield partner, John Turnbull, on February 24th, 1860, in the Presbyterian Church at Jedburgh, Scotland. They both settled initially in Philadelphia, where John continued practicing dentistry until 1862, when they moved to New York City for more than 20 years. John Baloo Newborough began having an affair with his dental assistant, Frances Vanderwater Sweet, and eventually had a daughter, Justine, with her on January 1st, 1884. In April of 1884, his wife, Rachel, ordered him to leave their house in New York City and ultimately divorced in 1886. John Baloo Newborough married Frances Vanderwater, and they both moved to a farm at Pearl River, New York, which by 1884 they named Camp Horrid, the staging place for founding Shalom Colony, as outlined in Owaspy. Now, this is John Baloo's daughter, Justine, also called Joan. These are his children. John and Rachel have 3 children together, 2 boys, William, who became a civil engineer, and George, who sadly died at age 2. and a daughter, Elizabeth, who became an artist. Justine was the only child known between John and his dental assistant, Francis. John Ballew Newborough published works and books. Book 1, John Newborough was a writer and poet. His first novel was a 600-page book about his experiences in the California gold rush named The Lady of the West, or The Gold Seekers, printed in Cincinnati in 1855, 15 years before he was asked to change his life to be able to have a WASPy channeled through him. Book 2. Afterward, John published several other books. Between them, one which made him famous. Now, they didn't go into the book that he wrote in between there. And one of the best books that he did write was a book called Spiritualis, which means spiritual questions. And he wrote that in 1876, 4 years before he was inspired to write a WASPy. And if you read it, he still wasn't sure even about the spirits or anything, and he was searching for higher and higher light. Now, which one made him famous was a WASPy, a new Bible. A WASPy was published in 1882, but was actually, what we know about it, there were actually publisher's plates made in 1881 of the original copy. For us as faithists, this is equivalent. We have the original typeset metal printing plates that you use in a printing press. For anyone to have the original script, you know what I mean? Especially as a faithist, this is equivalent to finding 2 tablets written in stone by the hand of God. You see what I'm saying? Showing that our text has roots and we actually come from the primary source. Now, a WASPy was published in 1882, purporting to contain new revelations from the ambassadors of the angel host of heaven, prepared and revealed unto man in the name of Jehovih. John Newborough reported it. Now listen, John Newborough, JBN said it to have been written by automatic writing. For anybody aware of automatic writing, it's nothing spooky. Millions of people still have this talent today. You see what I'm saying? They actually have this talent today. They go into trances, they do seances, their hands take on to a life of their own, and they write, they paint, they play music, and many of them write text. You did what I'm saying? So it's nothing new, no different than what Ezra did when he got drunk and literally ran his mouth for 40 days. And for anybody who's looking for that, y'all can go to 2nd Ezra's 14:21 through 43 or 44. But just start in 21 where it says the law was burnt and they had to rewrite it. So that was automatic writing also. In the ancient days, automatic writing at this time came through a typewriter. And it was one of the very first books ever written on a typewriter, because a typewriter was brand new in 1881. As a matter of fact, the patent for it didn't even come out to 1874. So when John Ballew Newborough tells you things like he didn't know how to type, those are claims that are shouldn't seem dubious to you. You know what I mean? How many of us can't work computers today? You know what I mean? We're not really computer savvy. You know what I mean? You can bumble and stumble around on there. And many of us can hardly type, period. We be hunting and pecking using our fingers. So imagine in 1874 or 1881 on a machine he'd never seen before, writing a book like Owaspy. It's almost impossible. But it goes to lend credence to what he was saying. He didn't know how to type. John Balloon Newborough, complete history, inventions, facts. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Now, those are some things you can just quickly look into. But as always, you know what I mean? Let's get off into this real quick. This is everything Owaspy, origin and history of Owaspy, a book review by Sean Castile. This was written January 15, 2010. In the UFO Digest book review, Owaspy, the remarkable Mr. Newborough. A brief article on Owaspy by Raymond A. Palmer, Tribute Edition. Right? What is Owaspy? The answer to that question is a complicated one. For starters, it is a book by a man named John Balloon Newborough who claims it is a new Bible. It is also an extremely long and complex mixture of religious history and prophecy that has at times the feel of science fiction as it grapples faithfully with ancient scripture, while at the same time adding a whole new mythology of creation, or cosmology of creation. That's what it should say, but it says mythology. Cosmology of creation and the ethics God requires of his chosen people today. There are those who claim it is the most arch kind of blasphemy and must be thoroughly denounced so that no one is taken captive by its enthralling yet demonic rewriting of some of the biblical stories as we know them. For those who have actually read it, we know these are still the claims of the unripe and uninformed today. Let us begin with the story of Owaspy's sort of author. Now, this is obviously somebody who actually read the book, because only a person who would read the book would know that JBN says he didn't author it. And he didn't, once you get down to the core of it. Now, if you want to say he's the one who actually typed it, he would even say no. His fingers touched the keys, but not of his own volition. Remember, he couldn't type. So John Balloon Newborough, right? He's the sort of author, because the actual authorship is of the angels. He is the compiler of the text, and the source of the words are the creator. Proving that source, authorship, compilement, and then the production, the producing of the book are handled by different people. JBN didn't produce the book. He didn't publish it. Now, or you could say he did produce the book. He's the one who came with it, but he brought it to a whole nother man who published the book, right? Through his own publishing company. So you have the publisher, the compiler, the author, and the source, 4 different things, right? An entry from the Occultism and Parapsychology Encyclopedia is posted on a website called answers.com and gives the reader an excellent history of Newborough and his controversial take on the ultimate spiritual truths of God as handed down to mankind through the ages. Newborough was born near Springfield, Ohio, And on June 5th, 1828, the son of a school teacher. He was educated in the local schoolhouse and devoted much time to self-education as well. He attended the Cincinnati Medical College and practiced both medicine and dentistry. Now, that sounds a lot like what we read earlier, but let's see what this brother brings out here. In 1948, he migrated to California, so he was an original 49er. He migrated to California. Let me see if I can blow it up just a little bit. Okay, let me see. He migrated to California. Where am I at? He migrated to California and was fortunate to be there for the great gold rush of that historic year. He married a woman named Rachel Turnbull, and the couple moved to New York, where Newborough resumed his medical and dental practice. Around this time, he began to devote himself to the emerging spiritualist movement and became a trustee of the New York Spiritualist Association. His spiritualist interests were not shared by his wife and may have contributed to their eventual divorce. It is claimed that Newborough had remarkable psychic gifts. Remarkable. So he was known as a psychic before Owaspy was thought about. Years before Owaspy was thought about, he was already known as a remarkable psychic and actually went around proving who was real and who was fake. You did what I'm saying? He could allegedly paint in total darkness with both hands at once. He was also able to close his eyes and read printed pages of any book in any library, as well as to bring back recollections of astral travels or projections. So, does that sound familiar to anybody? Sound like Suis to you? This is not far-fetched to anybody who is tapped into their spiritual gifts. These are common. As a matter of fact, you can go online right now and look up the little Indian girl who reads books without opening them. You see what I'm saying? This is not new. You know what I mean? This is not demonic. Right? He was even said to be able to lift weights of as much as a ton without apparent effort while under control of certain spirits. Wow. Now, that starts to make sense when you understand that it's never the man. It's the spirit working through the man. But Newborough bored with standard forms. Newborough bored with standard forms of contact with the spirits and wanted to engage them in gathering more important metaphysical information. Thus, he set in motion the events that resulted in Owaspy, a Cosmon Bible, in the words of Jehovih and his angel ambassadors. He told the story of what happened in a letter to the editor of the publication called The Banner of Light. Now, look, we got that letter. We got the letter right here. You did what I'm talking about, but we're going to get into that next. All right, hold on. Let me highlight this. He told the story of what had happened in a letter to the editor of a publication called The Banner of Light, dated January 21st, 1883. The letter said, "I was crying for the light of heaven. I did not desire communication for friends or relatives or information about earthly things. I wished to learn something about the spirit world, what the angels did, how they traveled. and the general plan of the universe. I was directed to get a typewriter which writes by keys. Look how he says it. And mind you, in 1881, also there was no QWERTY board. So imagine looking at your board with the ones and all that across the top and the QWERTY. That's called the QWERTY board, right? That didn't exist then. So, man, I could imagine how hard it was to write on a typewriter, period. Right? I was directed to get a typewriter which write by keys, like a piano. This I did. I applied myself industriously to learn it, but with only indifferent success. For 2 years more, the angels propounded me with questions relative to earth and heaven, which no mortal could answer very intelligently. Now, that is a key right here, which no mortal could answer very intelligently, right? The angels are gearing him to think about things, right? For 2 years. Now, they came to him in 1870, so this is 1878, and from 1878, 1879, 1880, they propounded him with these questions that was blowing his mind that nobody could answer. One morning, the die was cast for real. A light struck the back of both of Newborough's hands and led him to his typewriter for 15 minutes of a vigorous pounding of the keys. Though he had never mastered the art of typing, this is known, on his own, suddenly he was serving as a channel for a very competent typist. He was told not to read what he was typing, just like Ezra, and fearful of losing his spiritual connection to his source, he obeyed that order reverently. The basic pattern repeated itself morning after morning. He spoke little to the people around him about the typewriter channeling process, or perhaps more accurately, automatic writing. One morning, he looked out of the window and saw that the light animating his hands extended out his window and up into the heavens. 3 pairs of hands materialized physically over his head. So while his fingers is typing, his fingers is going crazy, he looking up over his head and looking around him. Imagine what's going on. And keep in mind, JBN, who wrote a masterwork. If you read Owaspy, it is, first of all, you understand if you actually read Owaspy, no man could have wrote it. It is impossible. No man could have written Owaspy, man. I can't explain it to you, but it just is what it is. It's impossible for a man to have written Owaspy. And it would take a team of men, lifetimes, to write the stuff that's in Owaspy. But you ain't got to believe Cosmon when I tell you there are other people around. Hold on, let me see if I can blow this up just a little bit. Let me see how this do. Yeah, that don't look good. Let me see. And I can't move it, huh? Okay. All right. There we go. Let me see if that look a little better. Yeah, that look a little better right there. That look a little better right there. Right. One morning, here we go. One morning, he looked out the window, saw the light animating his hands extended out of the window and up into the heavens. 3 pairs of hands materialized physically over his head, and a female angel stood behind him with her hands on his shoulders. So there's 3 pairs of hands over his head and 2 on his shoulders by a female angel. So that's at least 4 angels. For 50 weeks, Newborough's letter continued. This continued every morning, half an hour or so before sunrise, and then it ceased. I was told to read and publish the book Owaspy. The peculiar drawings in Owaspy were made with pencil in the same way. Newborough claimed that the book came from the higher heavens. This is what Newborough is saying. Newborough is not saying he wrote the book. He's saying the author are angels, and it came from the higher heavens, right? And was directed and looked over by God, the Creator's chief representative in the heavens of this earth, showing right then first of all, this had to come after he got the revelation. Nobody knew that God, and well, I'm gonna tell you two people who did know that God was not the creator: the Algonquins of America, who praised the Great Spirit, and the true Israelites. I ain't talking about the Jews. I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about the real Israelites, those who praise the Great Spirit and the Great Spirit only, who come from originally from the areas of Persia and through Africa and then through to America, and are partially some of the people what we call Negroes today, right? But many Negroes are from right here in America. You dig what I'm saying? So Newborough claimed that the book came from the higher heavens and was looked over by God, the Creator's chief representative in the heavens, showing right there he had already got the understanding. Because unless you know, only a person with the revelation of Owaspy know that God and the Creator are not the same thing. To everybody else, that is very confusing because they have been indoctrinated through religion to believe God and the Creator are the same thing. He's a big man in the sky, sitting on a throne, killing people. A group formed around Newborough's revelations, and in 1883, they moved themselves, they named themselves, the Faithist Seed of Abraham, a term that came from the book. They moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico, where they established Shalom, a community founded to carry out the Owaspy injunction to care for foundlings and orphans. A foundling is a baby left in the street with no parents. Orphans are babies that were given over by their parents. So his whole point of putting together Shalom was to try to bring, as we find out later in Jehovah's Kingdom on Earth and Owaspy, a community for these forgotten babies. Ain't this a good work? Okay. Newborough married a second time, choosing a woman from among the Faithist community. By 1891, a residential home had been erected capable of housing 50 disadvantaged children. But an outbreak of influenza devastated the area, and Newborough was stricken and died. His associate, Andrew Howland, continued the community for a time, but it quickly disintegrated. But the book that inspired the Faithist movement lives on. 174 years later. You dig what I'm talking about? Or really 141 years later. Dig that. Because it came in the 33rd year of the Cosmine era. So it's really 141 years later. The Faithist movement lives on. Is that right? Shout out to the Creator gang in the house. You dig what I'm talking about? Peace to all the righteous gods and the Nirvanian goddesses. While it has been published in many different ways and forms, the most recent publication of note is the new Raymond A. Palmer, man. Shout out to Raymond Palmer, man. Because when nobody would, he did. When nobody could, he did. He really searched for the true light. And Creator put basically the future of this book, this revelation, in the hand of Raymond A. Palmer. And I must say, brother, you have done a great job wherever you are in the heavens. Salute to you. And may right now, I hope you rise up higher than you already are. Shout to Raymond Palmer, one of the greatest faithists to ever touch this planet. The Raymond A. Palmer Tribute Edition from Inner Light Publications, a mass effort spearheaded by publisher Timothy Green Beckley. Not only is the original text of Owaspy beautifully rendered, it is more than 1,200 pages long. Now, how many of y'all got Big Blue and only got, 900 some pages in it? How many of y'all got Big Blue? You see? This is why it's good to have the original text. You can always go back. That is the lowest edition. Shout out to the lowest too. You did what I'm talking about. But, as a people who have, so much has been kept away from us. We want to see everything. The good, the bad, the ugly. We want to see it all. And then knowing the beauty, the harmony and the symmetry of our Creator. You dig what I'm talking about? We know anything that would have been kept out would have been, it would have fit right in with Owaspy. It would just still keep blowing our minds. And we've got these so-called Owaspy apocryphas today. And shout out to the sister Pam and her husband, man, because we going to get the scrolls ourselves. We not waiting on nobody. You dig what I'm saying? But let's get back to this real quick. Not only is the original text of Owaspy beautifully rendered, it is more than 1,200 pages long, but also included are the complete pencil drawings that Newborough did, as well as the original color paintings of the prophets that Newborough channeled in his darkened office. Some editions may boast of a leather book jackets or fancier bindings, but there is no other edition in the world that has all the color paintings produced in their Technicolor glory. That's even true today. Raymond my Owaspy has them in black and white. Now, as to why it is called the Raymond A. Palmer Tribute Edition, Beckley offers his explanation in a short introduction. Raymond A. Palmer, Beckley writes, was a true pioneer, one of the most important individuals in the field of esoteric and arcane knowledge of the past 100 years. He was the editor of Amazing Stories. Y'all remember that book, Amazing Stories? That lasted all the way to in the 80s, I know. A futuristic sci-fi magazine published in the mid-1940s, which presented the fantastic stories of Richard Shaver. Remember, there was a movie, if I'm not mistaken, called Amazing Stories, and his subterranean worlds. Palmer was also one of the founders of Fate magazine and later started his own publishing empire with such titles as Mystic, Search, Form, and Space World. He also issued reprints of hard-to-find works. Beckley continued, for a while, he possessed the only copy of a first edition of Owaspy, and then he issued 2,000 copies in a private edition, even at a financial loss, just to get the word out about this amazing book. Shout out to Raymond A. Palmer. You dig what I'm talking about? This man wasn't no joke, and he knew the significance. You dig what I'm talking about? And that man did his work and kept this thing alive, because they will burn you out. They'll just burn books and hide information. Now, I want to ask this question too. I want to ask this question. Since we got nothing but thinking people, you know, spiritual people around us. Now, it is well known, you dig what I'm talking about, that the black community, so-called black community, the Negroes, the niggas, we have produced some of the greatest thinking minds to ever touch this damn planet. Ever. I'm talking about the Sheikh Anti-Diops, the J.A. Rogers of the world, the Dr. Benz. You dig what I'm talking about? The Dr. Clarks. You dig what I'm talking about? We had the Phil Valentines and Dr. Delbert Blairs and Francis Cress Welsings of the world, who were actually out in the world, not sitting behind no desk. They was out here looking and searching, you know what I mean, for things not only to prove the theories that they was trying to prove, but for any betterment of the people. So I got a question arised in my mind. How is it that these minds, these great thinking minds, never ran across Owaspy? Owaspy was around before most of them was even living. How is it that Dr. Ben didn't run into this book? How is it that J.A. Rogers didn't see this? What I'm trying to tell you, melanated folks, is that they hid it from you on purpose because they know it's yours. And they know that book is a power. This is why they hate on it. This is why they try to stop it, but nothing works. Their gods don't work. Cursing it don't work. You can't do nothing with it. You dig what I'm talking about? Lawrence Burton says it was over their heads. No, not that it was over their heads. They never even seen it. If Dr. Clark would have seen this, boy, you know what it did for his works? Dr. Francis Cress Welsing would have seen this. Oh, Lord. James Baldwin never ran across this. What I'm telling you is that it was hid from you on purpose. Huh? Just like all the great writings of the world, because a lot of it tied directly to you, so-called black man. Most of that stuff in history is talking about you. This is what they don't want to know. They want to let you know you've been important for a long time. And if y'all not catching on with the paradigm shift, man, y'all in the midst of it. So you better catch up or you're going to get left behind. You see what I'm saying? Let's go on and read some more. Palmer was an early mentor to Beckley, helping the young fledgling paranormal journalist establish his first toeholds in the publishing business. So it is with certain affection that Beckley next presents Palmer's own short essay on Owaspy and why the late editor and publisher thought it was such a significant piece of work. Palmer waxes ecstatic over Newborough's melding of science and religious mythology and the profound use of new words and spiritual languages employed to express the history and meaning of creation and the gods and the angels who inhabit it. The title Owaspy itself is one of those newly revealed words and translates as sky, earth, and spirit, the all, the sum of all corporeal and spiritual knowledge as at present. Palmer writes, if you should happen to have a mystical streak in your makeup, right? So what he's saying, if you got a little spiritual ineptitude. Huh? You're not so afraid. You dig what I'm saying? That you will step out of your religious and ideological conditioning and dogma. You dig what I'm saying? He's saying Owaspy ought to give you a gold mine of interest to you. The subject of religion as related to history, Owaspy's history, is an intriguing one. If you have any ideas about life after death, about heaven or hell, here is a book that has as much claim to greatness as does Milton's Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. Now, if you got to the 10th to 9th grade in high school, you have read Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, and you know how much emphasis they put on the work. You see what I'm saying? Of Milton, and that they still teach this in high school today. It is regarded as one of the greatest works. Oh, Ray Palmer says it's a greater work than that. You dig what I'm talking about? He said that book has as much claim to greatness as does Milton's Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. That's one of the most talked about books in all learning, period. You dig what I'm talking about? All of us, if you got the 9th to 10th grade, you read Paradise Lost. You see what I'm saying? So, and finally, to the philosopher, here is another complete picture of things as they might really be. Palmer goes on, or as might better be said, as close to reality as any concept can be. Reality is that elusive thing which is impossible to reach. Whoo, that was deep. Hold on, let me run that back. One more time for the people in the bid act. Reality is that elusive thing which is impossible to reach. We conceive of no ultimate reality, of no ultimate creator, of no ultimate truth. And in that sense, Owaspy will be as eminently acceptable to the philosopher as any philosophy yet devised. And who can say to what degree it is reality approached? You dig what I'm saying? Perhaps we should catch our breath a little and look at some of the claims made for Owaspy, a new and more relevant Bible, a mystical work equal to the classics of Milton, and perhaps we should throw in Dante for good measure. Oh, y'all know about Dante's Inferno? That's 11th grade. That's 11th grade reading for y'all. You dig what I'm talking about? I actually read Dante's Inferno in like 7th grade. But, you know, a book on hell and its levels, you know, that was right up my alley when I was 13. Perhaps we say, while this reviewer has read, now look what he said. While this reviewer has read only a small part of more than the 1,200 pages of Owaspy, some definite impressions did take shape. So even he hasn't read the whole thing at the time in 2010. You know what I mean? And he said he got some definite impressions from it. Let's see what he said. Like all inspired scripture, there is a living energy to the words on the printed page. It reminded me of a few lines from Bob Dylan from his 1975 song Tangled Up in Blue, which go like this. And every one of those words rang true and glowed like a burning coal, pouring off the page like it was written in my soul. Whoa! fire. All right, Bob Dylan. But look what the writer is saying, man. He's saying it set well with his soul. Like what he was reading in Owaspy was not only sitting well in his stomach, but it was like it was already written in his soul. For those of us who have actually read Owaspy, we feel the exact same. For those of us who call ourselves faithists today, we feel the exact same. What you end up finding out is Owaspy answers so many questions that it takes away the fear. And what you end up finding out is the book Owaspy is just put in words what's already been written on the inside. Huh? Again, that sounds like high praise indeed, right? Just what is it about that produces this kind of positive yet extreme reaction? Perhaps it strikes such a resonant chords within us because it is what it claims to be, the words of the Creator and his multitudes of angels and servants as given to a 19th century dentist, right? And they make so much a big deal of that. Would it have been better if he was a scientist? You would have believed it more. If he shoed horses, would you turn down the truth? What if he was a bum and broke? Would you turn down this truth? And if you would, you just missing out, nigga. Creator use who he want to do what he want. And you ain't got nothing to say about it, nor you can judge him. Perhaps it strikes such a resonant chord within us is because it is what it claims to be. Huh? He said it's given to a 19th century dentist who had been a clairvoyant and clairaudient since childhood and eventually attained to his destiny as a true prophet. What? I gotta light my flip a ting on that one. Owaspy is perhaps too lengthy and complex. Look what it say. This is how I know these niggas ain't reading. Even the sister Nepal lied. Said she read the book. I'm almost done with it. You lying ass nigga. Even Jabari sat up there and lied trying to save face. I read it 15 years ago. So you read it before, C-Lie? You had it before? You lying ass goofy nigga. You dig what I'm talking about? I hate liars, man. They irk my soul. You dig what I'm talking about? And I think that's why I resonate with Owaspy personally, because I know when somebody is telling me the truth. And I know when somebody is trying to bullshit me. I'm a real one. I was way cutthroat before any of these bitch ass niggas got off the porch. As a matter of fact, most of these niggas you call your leaders never got off the porch. They had been hoe ass niggas since they was little kids. You was a bitch ass nigga as a kid. You a bitch ass nigga now. And that's for any of you goofy ass religious niggas. Any of you motherfuckers. Excuse my French. But look what it say. Owaspy is perhaps too lengthy and complex to approach as reading for pleasure. Why? Oh, wait. That's Zaza from Jaja. Because you actually have to think. Owaspy tells you don't believe. And it also admits that even the words within its pages are indirect information and don't come directly to creator, to you. And even if it did come directly to JBN, by the time it get to you, it's secondary and indirect information. So you don't even, it's not even beholden on your soul. Ain't nobody trying to make you do nothing. They try to make you follow these so-called laws, these same laws that in Deuteronomy 21, 10 through 14, they say it's okay to rape a woman. Long as you kill her daddy and her mama and take her back to your crib, wherever that may be in the world. You shave her hair and cut her nails and let her sit down and boo-hoo for 30 days, then you can rape her. It's cool. Genocidal rape. Good thing there. Thank you, God. Come on, man. But it will most likely reward the reader who devotes reasonable and patient time and energy to it. It will. Right? Let's read that one more time. Owaspy is perhaps too lengthy and complex for dumb niggas to approach as reading for pleasure. So if you're trying to disprove this thing, or you're not trying to come at it with an open mind and just look at it as information that you just don't know, it's not for you. You can't just cherry pick this. But for those who looking at it for real, coming at it in truth, it will most likely reward the reader who devotes reasonable and patient time and energy to it. It fleshes out ideas and events only briefly touched on in the Bible. For example, Revelations 12:7 says, "Now war rose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought." Owaspy does more than briefly mention that heavenly war. It gives a blow-by-blow account of it. It's the kind of passages that Ray Palmer said had science fiction overtones, with the various gods of the earth fighting it out in the skies above us, just mere mortals. It should also be noted that Owaspy includes the first known reference to a starship, a spaceship, a UFO. What do they call them right now? They call them unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. They got a whole new word for it. Owaspy is the very first book ever to mention a starship in 1881. And y'all think this white dude wrote this shit? You got to be stupid as fuck. Huh? It's the first known reference to a starship, which is especially significant in view of the fact that the book was published in 1882. It was actually in 1881 it came down, but it was published in 1882, many decades before the term became commonplace. Even total skeptics must admit that there is still a kind of presence at work here. As stated at the beginning of this review, there are a few websites that denounce Owaspy as blasphemy. Perhaps if Newborough had not made such vaunted claims for it, calling it a new Bible, he would not have drawn such virulent criticism. Whenever you write anything that has to do with your personal religious beliefs, you will inevitably create controversy and discord. A good thing Owaspy isn't a religion, though. Nevertheless, it is a testimony to his devout faith in his otherworldly sources that he took that kind of risk and called it a new Bible, as he was introduced to do, as he was instructed to do. But a Bible is a book full of other books. That's all it is. Bible ain't special. There are many books that could be considered a Bible. There are a bunch of books with other books in it. They are all called Biblios, Bible. In any case, Owaspy still functions as a kind of 19th century theory of everything. Perfect. Because it got something on everything in that thing, man. Owaspy something else. You dig what I'm talking about? An ambitious effort to explain the entire universe, both seen and unseen. As Palmer so rightly points out, while it cannot be called the complete truth of creation, which we as mortals are not capable of knowing anyway, it still manages to make as close an approach to that probable truth as anything written in the post-biblical era. That's over 2,000 years. Huh? Shout out to Sean Castile. You dig what I'm talking about for dropping that. But let's get into this letter that JBN, you know what I mean, wrote to the publication called The Banner of Light, about how Owaspy was received. But, you know, as I always say, you know, men lie, women lie, and the gods lie. You dig what I'm talking about? But there's only one truth. And if you're going to hear the truth, it's always good to hear it directly out the horse's mouth. So let's see what JBN had to say a few months after publishing Owaspy in 1882. This is January 21st, 1883, to the editor of the Banner of Light, Boston, Massachusetts. Dear sir, some years ago, Owaspy was mechanically written. Now, he says mechanically because at the time, if you think about it, looking at a early Scholl's typewriter, which is the type that he used and was brand new in 1880. You dig what I'm talking about? The patent for it just came out in 1874. So by the time they rolled off 5 years later in 1979, they weren't even 2 years or a year and a half on the market by the time he had got one. So he says, so you would look at a typewriter as a mechanical machine. It's not like you see today, all sleek and fitted right into your little laptop. You see what I'm saying? It was a big brawling machine. You dig what I'm talking about? That probably weighed over 50 pounds and had to be carried and set onto a strong desk, or it would weigh the desk down eventually and break it. So they put these on large desks, and they were used later by many what do you call them, people to do your secretaries, right? But this was a big machine at first. It was heavy and it was all steel, right? So it would look like a machine. So it kind of makes sense why he said it was mechanically written. Owaspy was mechanically written through my hands by some other intelligence than my own. Now remember, this is JBN. Many spiritualists, listen what he say. Many spiritualists are acquainted with automatic movement of their hands independent of one's own volition. This ain't nothing new. So don't let goofy ass dumb niggas who don't know nothing about spirituality and will try to tell you they spiritual people, but then will try to tell you to divorce your spiritual system and then don't have a spiritual system that's better than the one they trying to get you away from. Don't listen to these niggas, man. Make your own mind up. There are thousands and thousands of persons who have this quality. This ain't nothing new. It can also be educated or taught, or rather, the susceptibility to external power can be increased. In my own case, I discovered many years ago when sitting in circles to obtain spiritual manifestations that my hands could not lie on the table without flying off into tantrums. Often they would write messages, left or right, backward or forward, nor could I control them any other way than by withdrawing from the table. Sometimes that's because, you dig what I'm talking about, the vessel wasn't pure at the time. But I think JB ain't gonna go on to explain this. Sometimes the power so baffled would attack my tongue or my eyes or my ears, and I talked and saw differently from my normal state. Then I went to work in earnest to investigate spiritualism, and I investigated over 200 mediums, traveling hundreds and hundreds of miles for this purpose. Often I took them to my own house and experimented with them to my heart's content. I found that nearly all of them were subject to this involuntary movement of the hands or to entrancement. They told me it was angels. This is what they said. Now, you got to remember, he's talking about a time where he didn't write OWASP. He's talking about a time where he didn't know nothing about it. Right? And he had already did or investigated over 200 mediums. And some of them, most of them, he found out were fakes. Him and his homeboy. Now, they told me it was angels controlling them. In about 10 or 15 years, I began to believe in spiritualism. But I was not satisfied with the communications. I was craving for the light of heaven. Remember, the brother said, this is what he said. I was craving for the light of heaven. I did not desire communications from friends or relatives. He talking about of the dead, or information about earthly things. I wished to learn something about the spirit world, what the angels did, how they traveled, and the general plan of the universe. So after a while, I took it into my head that wise and exalted angels could commune better with us if we purified ourselves physically and spiritually. You think he came up with that by himself? I don't. OWASP teaches you that all men are inspired, right? And even if he made that choice, that don't mean he came up with the thought. You dig what I'm talking about? Angels are slick and smart. They give you free will, but they bring things up to see which one you will choose. Yay or nay. It's all up to you. But I don't think he came with that all on his own. Can't no light come from darkness. And we know no man is dark. Even the best of us. Then I gave up eating flesh and fish. The dietary law. I gave up eating that booty meat. Them animal sandwiches. Huh? I gave up gnawing on pigs and cows and birds. And he gave up milk and butter and took the rising before day, bathing twice a day and recounting daily to my creator my shortcomings in governing myself in thought and deed. In 6 years training, I reduced myself from 250 pounds to 180. My rheumatism was all gone and I had no headache. I became limber and sprightly. A new lease of life came to me. Now, do you see? That's just from adhering to the dietary law. And this is in 1976. He only 6 years doing this since the angels asked him to prepare himself to do this work. Right? He said in 6 years, he lost 70 pounds. He didn't have no more rheumatism. His bones didn't hurt. He felt better, and he had a whole new lease on life just by sticking to the very first law. What is the very first law, y'all? The dietary law, right? Then a new condition of control came upon my hands. Look, he cleared himself up. Now he has a new state of control to his hands. Because remember, his hands, he would just go willy-nilly. He ain't had no control over it. He said, but now a new condition of control came upon his hands. Instead of the angels holding my hands as formerly, they held their hands over my head. And they were clothed with sufficient materiality for me to see them. And a light fell upon my hands as they lay on the table. And in the meantime, I had attained to hear audible angel voices near me. I was directed to get a typewriter, which I did, and I applied myself industriously to learn it, but with indifferent success. For 2 years more, the angels propounded me the questions relative to heaven and earth, which no mortal could answer very intelligently. Now, this should sound like you dig what I'm talking about. Exactly what we read in the John Baloo. You dig what I'm talking about? They taking it straight from JBN's words, right? But show me when you see something evil. You dig what I'm talking about? Stop me when I get something to something evil. You dig what I'm saying? This is what I want you to do. You know, pause it on here. Make sure you got the minute and the time. We're gonna run it back, and we're gonna stop and see what evil thing has JBN said yet. He followed the dietary. First of all, he wanted higher light than what he was getting. So first of all, he had to think. He had to think, I want something different. This ain't good enough for me. You see what I'm saying? I need higher light. He got a thought in his mind and said, well, damn. Maybe if I purify myself as the vessel is coming through, you know, maybe I'll get higher messages and clearer messages. So he just came with this thought. He cut out all type of meat. He changed his whole, he stuck to the dietary law. Pure vegetarian. As a matter of fact, he went vegan. He did this for 10 years, but in the 6th year. Now, what y'all should notice also is, remember I told you, he wrote a book 4 years, 4 to 5 years before Owaspy in 1976. It was called Spiritualis. Now, he's telling you at this time, nigga, I'm looking for higher light. That's what he's saying in Spiritualis. And he, because of this greater control, he start asking questions. He didn't even know about the creator. He wasn't pumping the creator yet. He wasn't talking about Jaja, none of that. But he was having these experiences so much that he wrote a book. We're going to bring Spiritualis up here. I got it ordered. Be coming to the crib ASAP. We're going to break down Spiritualis too. Because we seen a goofy-ass girl get online and tear the book apart. Who cares? She was trying to down the book like JBN was working with some evil shit and he knew it and all that. JBN say in the book he didn't believe none of this shit. So it kind of threw her whole little video off. And since you watching, fuck you. Oh, you didn't think Faithist could say that? We just holier, higher than everybody? Nah, you's a bitch-ass bitch. And you know who I'm talking about. And I'll never say your name. I'll never say your name on this thing. You'll never get an inch of light from me. As a matter of fact, pardon my back as I get back to these lessons real quick. But you know who you is. You a hater. You dig what I'm talking about? You a lonely hater too. You dig what I'm talking about? A troll. And now you convicted because you seeing the people that you thought was going to be your people turning their back on you too, because you got this understanding now. And now you believe, she believes what Owaspy say. That's the crazy part. Because she'll check them about what it say in the book. So she cutting herself to death trying to hate on the created game. Huh? But one day, you're going to come on back. You're going to get right. I pray that Jah get you together, man, because he convicting you already. You out here looking foolish. And you know who I'm talking to. You dig what I'm talking about? You know who I'm talking to. And if you think I'm talking to you, I am. Anybody can snatch it out the air. If that's what you feel like. Huh? For 2 more years, the angel propounded me with questions relative to the heaven and the earth, which no mortal could answer very intelligently. I always look back on these 2 years as an enigma. Perhaps it was to show me that a man is but an ignoramus at best. These niggas dumb as fuck. Aren't y'all? Listen. Aren't y'all seeing it? Most of these people are slow. They have no light, and they don't love the Creator at all. They don't love him at all. But mad at you. They willing to hurt you. Because you saying, nah, we better than God. We'll just go to the source. You keep God. Nah. Nah. Straight on God. Straight on Lord, too. You dig what I'm talking about? Hold my Yeshua for me, please, sir. And we show reverence to real Yeshua. We don't praise him. He don't get no prayer. As a matter of fact, anybody know, if you really want to go with what Yeshua is, Yeshua ain't a man. Yeshua is a place. But Yeshua or Joshua or Yeshua, the eyes added later through Hebrew text. Anyways, but in 146 BC, a man, a prophet, was born through the Essene, Nazarene stock. In 146 BC, died 36 years later in 110 BC. 110 years before anybody you would think could be Yeshua or Jesus was around. We're not talking about the same nigga. My Yeshua, the real Yeshua, is a place. It's a resort for Etherian angels because they've been down here fucking with your little stinking musty spirit ass. You clogged, poured, angelic pus bag. They've been down here fucking with you. So now they need to come on back after a while like, whew, let me take a bath. Let me take these shoes off. Oh, y'all don't want to hear it. I don't care though. I'm going to tell you the truth. Most of y'all spiritually stink. Why? Because the atmospheric part of the meat sticks onto your spirit because it's atmospheric. So the physical part of the food feeds your physical part of your body. The atmospheric part of the food, you can't see, smell. That part, right? That's in there that feeds the atmospheric part of the body, which is called spirit. After a while, it rots just like it does in your stomach. At least you can poop it out. What do you do to get rid of it spiritually? You don't know. You don't know how to take a spirit bath. You ain't read Owaspy. That's why your shit stank. Right? Well, you gonna wake up. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Look what he said. Well, one morning the light struck the back of both of my hands on the back, and they went for the typewriter for some 15 minutes very vigorously. I was told to not read what was printed. And I had worked myself into such a religious fear of losing this new power. Look, he said his fear was like it was religious. Because that is all the Bible teaches. The Bible don't tell us to love God. It don't tell us to be God. It tell you to fear God. But what they didn't know was we was going to learn that fear is the great blocker. Anybody who meditates will tell you I'm absolutely on point. If you get in that gray fuzzy screen when you meditate, lose the fear. What the fuck are you scared of? And you'll go higher. Whatever it is that you're scared of, shake it. And watch you step higher. This is why information is power. Because power allows you to lose the fear. The next morning also, before sunrise, the same power came and wrote, or printed rather. Now notice he's saying the power came and wrote. And again, I laid the matter away very religiously, saying very little about it to anybody. One morning I looked out the window and beheld a line of light that rested on my hands, extending heavenward like a telegraph wire towards the sky. Over my head were 3 pairs of hands fully materialized. Behind me stood another angel with her hands on my shoulders. My looking did not disturb the scene. My hands went right on printing and printing, showing that he didn't have shit to do with this book. He thinking about looking at the angels. His fingers in the angels is making his hands move. Automatic writing, man. It's spiritual shit. It ain't never the fucking man. It's always the spirit working through the man. And the cleaner and purer the man is, the man or the tuning fork is. Because the high spiritual man vibrates high. His vibration is high. He resonates high. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to hear the sound he's making. Dogs hear it. Animals hear it. Certain men can hear it. You dig what I'm saying? But you got to be attuned to hearing that. How do you start to attune yourself to that, Cosmon? First of all, is number 1, uphold the law. What's the first law? The dietary law. Stop eating meat. Stop. I'm gonna tell y'all how I did. I came in a pescatarian first. I just ate fish. And then after a while, man, and then with this understanding, bro, it first of all, in the Nazarene, Essene literature, and Owaspy, which line right up with each other. You dig what I'm talking about? You that with that type of light being broadcasted into your spirit, into your soul, it's gonna convict you. And understanding that man is not in Cosmon today, man is not gonna live by belief no more. Y'all want us to believe in shit. We don't want to believe in God. Fuck believing in God. If God ain't gonna come down here and do something right now for my motherfucking people, well, fuck that nigga. Huh? This is what y'all won't tell. Y'all niggas too scared to do the work. You call yourself God, but are you willing to work to be one? Talk me to death. Yeah. Talking me to death with the bullshit. I don't give a fuck how this book got here. Honestly, I'm doing this for dumb people. Spiritually low, hateful, biased, prejudiced niggas. They so mad this shit came through a white boy. Ooh, it's hurting their heart. It's hurting their heart. Oh, man, they are in a tizzy. I live rent-free in these niggas' minds. We ain't even been saying nothing about them. They still talk about it. You better come on in. That's what you better do. For 50 weeks, this continued every morning, a half an hour or so before sunrise, and then it ceased. And I was told to read and publish OWASP. Thank the Lord for John Lance. Huh? Huh? Y'all throw me a one in the chat, man. Thank the Lord for John Lance. Because the Cosmon publishers and them niggas who published in 1882, they wasn't the first niggas to get the prints. John Lance copied the whole shit first. Then JBN came back, got the book, the first edition, but Lance had already had all the typed out templates for it. Huh? Thank Jehovah for John Lance. This is literally the finger of God. That's the equivalent. The oldest full Bible in the world is the Codex Sinaiticus. That's only the 400s. AD, not even BC. If you want to go back to Torah, that's 450 BC. It's a baby. It's a Bible. What they say about OWASP? Say, look at them nigger boys up there. Said, find the people who believe in the Creator. Try to sell them on your story of a savior born a woman. See what they tell you. Said, look at them nigger boys up there with the remnants of Chinese, huh? With the remnants of Capelia and Abram, huh? Mixed with the sons of Iwati. He said, look at the Algonquins up there. Their Bible is a power. Ain't no other powerful Bible this day but OWASP. Man, wake up to the revelation of your Creator, nigga. Huh? You better wake up, or this whole shit gonna fly past you. As a matter of fact, you might die. What they got? What they got planned for niggas? Huh? You may not survive this without that communal living. Uh-oh. Yeah, you may not survive to 2048. Let's talk about it. Can you beat white supremacy? Can you? Can you get off the grid? Can you? Can you function? Because you ain't going to topple. Can you function in a capitalistic society? Do you know how to make that work so it ain't no have-nots? Everybody got it. See, what many of us know, right, is that shit is in the blood for real. Many of us just forgot. We just forgot. It was beaten up out of us, religified up out of us. They changed the names 100 times. Nigga, we only ever praised the Great Spirit here in America. We always knew God and the Great Spirit wasn't the same thing. We always knew Geechee wasn't Manita. Huh? We always knew Batman wasn't Robin. Batman the nigga, Robin worked for him. That's creating God. We've always known that. You just forgot you knew. And then when a waspy reminds you, that shit hit home. You'd be like, damn, I swear I knew this. It's like somebody told me this shit. I swear to God it's real. So for anybody who talking about this is a UFO, listen, dumbass motherfucker, just open the book and read it. Tell me when it's coming back to get your physical stinking ass and throw you on a ship somewhere. Tell me, show me where it say that. What you don't understand is you can't get on them ships. As much as you would like to, your physical ass can't get on no spiritual ship. Goofies. So get on a ship with an alien. See what he do to your dumb ass. He gonna hit you with some onion, little paprika, little carrots. You dig what I'm talking about? Little chicken broth. You dig what I'm saying? And he gonna make some niggas stew out your stupid ass. Get on that ship if you want. Your physical ass just got on a ship. Well, that mean he physical too. And he gonna eat your dumb ass. Man, listen. Listen, man, y'all got to think, man, there's too much going on. You did what I'm talking about? You got to be smarter than this, man. And the only way to shake this, the only thing that beats it is Creator. He got the sauce for everything. And for niggas know, because if you read that Owaspy, you know what I'm saying is true. You know what I'm saying is true. Huh? They always ask. First of all, let's get this out the way real quick. All right. This is the first book of God, chapter 28. For all them niggas. Right? Listen, y'all. The only reason I'm even talking to y'all is because I love you. Everybody else who know, they already know what's up with me. You dig what I'm talking about? They know what's up with bro. They know what's up with Uncle Nut. But Unc love the shit out y'all. You got to remember, I already got this knowledge. I don't have to fuck with you niggas. I already got a family of faithers. We already about to do it. We don't need you niggas. We already on the Aboriginal shit. We know what's up. And we coming to get everything. Shout out to Big Aboriginal Power, man. You need to get at me, cuz. Somebody link me with Big, you know what I mean? Throw Big Ab. You need to holla at nigga. You Big Aboriginal Power, but you my little bro. And I got answers to questions. They always say, what's next? Why the fuck you don't know? And we don't need everybody. Everybody ain't gonna go. Some of these niggas still, listen, I don't care what the fuck you is. You know what I mean? Why would I care? None of that shit is gonna get to heaven no way. But while I'm here, y'all done sold grandma on pie in the sky. Well, nigga, we know that shit ain't coming. So I want my pie now. Give me my shit back. Ain't no other holy book in the world telling you that the goddamn nigga is the Indian. Huh? But let's get back into this truth about JBN. Y'all done got Cosmonian rolling a little bit. But look, because these niggas always talking about, well, the white man wrote it. He's a white man. And in 1675, the white man. Nigga, shut the fuck up. Give a damn about. We don't care about none of that shit. You dig what I'm talking about? And I know some white boys will whoop your punk ass. That was just facts. Now, talk all that gangster shit you want. Most of you niggas is hoes. Got no spiritual grade. You niggas is below the animals. Most of you will kill your children. Huh? You below the animals. Just the fuck up talking to me. Nigga, read the book. Look. Because they always talking about, white boy wrote the book. No, nigga. Look who said. God said, be wise, old man, in the words of thy God. Huh? God is not the creator, but it's hitting you in your soul right now like it's the same impact. Because true God, this guy here, worked for the creator. Guess what? This guy right here, God, me and him got the same daddy. God will tell you out his mouth, I ain't no better than Cosmon. As a matter of fact, Cosmon gonna be what I am in time to come. Just give it a minute. He'll be there. Why y'all can't see yourself like that? Look what God say though. He said, my records come not up out the ground. My shit don't come out the ground, nigga, or poof up out the air and all that. No. He said, that's not where my records come from. Nor from the books of mortals. That's JBN included. That's that Bible included. That's the Vedas included. The Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata. You dig what I'm talking about? The I Ching, whatever. Nigga, my records don't come up out of books of niggas. I come with some new shit. And because I got to get you niggas to understand it, I got to get it through a nigga. This time it was JBN, but look. He said, I open my heavenly libraries. What? Y'all know it's true. Because in your soul, it feel good. That your creator will keep the record of everything somewhere. It just sounds logical. You dig what I'm talking about? Yeah, we seen you do that shit when you was 7 years old. You pulled that chair up under that little girl. We seen that, nigga. You know that's written some goddamn where. Whether you say it's in your soul or whatever, the creator, God, is telling you there is literally libraries. Most of y'all have a simple understanding, calling it the Akashic record. But, you know, the homies know what it is with the Akashic record. But most of y'all have an understanding of it through the Akashic record. Heavenly library, a place where the history of all things is written, including man. This is where you get the idea of a man on a devil on your shoulder and an angel on the other side. One is keeping track of good and evil. Right? He say, my shit don't come up out the ground, nigga, or out of books of mortals. He say, I open my heavenly libraries and find my living sons. Hold on. He say, I find my living sons and daughters who once trod the earth. That's a huge statement. So what he's saying is the record must somehow show the people in the time he is talking about. So the records are not just literal pen on paper records. They are actual recordings of a certain time, so you can go back and look at the thing through the eye of an individual who lived at that exact same time. So you can't tell me about what the fuck was happening when I'm experiencing what was happening and the shit is recorded. That's what you got to understand. He don't need you niggas 2022 perspective on ancient Egypt. He go back to 3150 and go sit around Narmer. He bring Narmer's life back. He don't need you. Creator been doing this long before you niggas here and gonna be doing it long before you niggas go extinct. Long after you niggas go extinct, excuse me. He ain't gonna never stop. That's what you don't understand. You trying to judge the creator with the eyes of a lowly nigga. Not even a high-raised nigga. Because a high-raised nigga wouldn't argue against this shit. This just make too much fucking sense. How else would a holy book get here? Nigga, I open up that line of light and drop it into a nigga brain. And I make him do what the fuck I want him to do. He said, I open my heavenly libraries and find my living sons and daughters who once trod the earth. Their light. Whose light? These living, hold on. These living sons and daughters. I want to go back to 3150 BC. I don't need y'all. I go back into the libraries of heaven and I go see the living people who trod the earth at the time that I'm looking for. So I want to go see what's happening at the Younger Dryas. I can go into the heavenly libraries and bring back the life of a person who lived at 10,500 BC. Run it back to get a first eye view. How you living? What's going on? Everything. Because it record everything. It records your feelings. Y'all didn't know that's what so-called guardian angels did? They're called Ashars. The Ashars write the record. This is what they do. But it's not recorded like you think. It's more like a screen. You live it. This, everything that you going through is being recorded. Every feeling, every thought, everything. And in real time. And thousands of years after your physical body die, you'll be able to go back and experience a time. And then, Creator so cold, you'll be able to read the book without looking at it. Damn, you're just catching the vibe. You'll be able to literally read the vortex. Listen, y'all have no idea what the fuck they're saying. This is time travel. Nigga, you don't get in a machine and go to time. No. And if you think about it, that don't even make sense. The fuck you gonna move the machine from now through the shit don't even make sense. What they explaining is time travel. You don't get in a machine and go to time. You go into yourself and time come to you. Boom, nigga, I'm trying to tell you. Jaja the coldest. You can't get around it. You can't get over him. The sister says, ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough, nigga. Ain't no galaxy wide enough. You can't get on side of them. You can't outthink him. Nigga, just read the book and see if this shit makes sense. Right? He say, their light I cast down again to mortals. How he do it though? So he give the experience of the niggas that was living, shit. When y'all want to go? 1492, right? We go over here and see what Montezuma and them was doing in 1492 when they seen this white nigga. We can recast Montezuma, him mama, cousins, everybody around him. We can recast they and get a whole feeling of what was going on communally through every eye and point of view. Ain't that dope? He say, they're like their experience, huh? Their knowledge, I cast down again. He told, hold on, whoa. I just shortchanged it. I recast. So I play it back down to him. That knowledge, that information, and it can turn on genetics. It could be shown to you just like a memory. Because that's what it is. A record is a memory. And he telling you, this is from living niggas who was walking on the earth at the time that you trying to look at. Didn't y'all know this was the other side of prophecy? Huh? This is why the diet and the dietary law is so key, because it cleans your blood. It stops your blood from being hot and acidic and turns cool and alkaline, and it allows other things spiritually which affect genetics, because remember, the unseen always rules the scene. So there will be a physical change that may not even be able to be seen. Much of that is explained in the pineal gland turning on and decalcifying, whatever you want to call it. And you can, listen, man, don't you believe that it just take this crazy amount of and meditating all this goddamn time? If that's what it take to get you in your zone. But I've seen people chakra shoot out the top of their head in a second. It's just about, I need it. And I'm willing it to come right now. It must come. You can see that blue light coming from people, bro. If you really attune. That shit be white and blue coming out the top of their head. Listen, bro. I seen some ill shit in my day. So can't nobody tell me create ain't real because you some goof ass nigga. Nigga, I see this shit every day. I'm looking at creation. You can't tell me I don't see trees. I don't see this sun. Well, the sun is a creation. Somebody made a sun. Well, then who the fuck creates suns, nigga? I'm talking about that nigga, because that nigga who can make suns make gods. Y'all never stop to ask who God praised. Shit, y'all told me Jesus was God. Even Jesus got on the cross and cried to another man. Huh? Did he not say, Eliah, Father? Who that nigga was praising to? But y'all telling me he is literally God. Well, how is that when Jesus, God, turn around and tell me I can do shit he do and even better than him? How, Jeebus? Obviously, I must be the same thing you are a son of God. Well, God then can't be the creator. It's simple logic. Because your daddy named Joseph, nigga. My daddy named Cal. So there's got to be a higher creator, a higher father, a higher God. Come out the gutter. He said, I cast their light down again to mortals in a stream of fire and low. And that means, and nigga, my words are rewritten. Search thou for the evidence of the of my footsteps on the earth. Find the people who stand by the Creator. Woo! Huh? Creator gang. Gang is in the house. You bring them, we raise them. Look what they say. Look at verse 4. Huh? Don't it feel good to be able to look a God in the face and say, shut the fuck up, nigga? I don't believe that shit no more. You had me when I was little. You almost had me, nigga. Somebody was looking out for me. Grandma and them was crying for real. But they knew this day was gonna come. Where the first of the niggas got it. Don't change the world. We're gonna change the world. But we know what it is also. It's a game. And it must be played. It must be. It must be. So it's good to have the rules and to know what's gonna come on the dice before they even roll. Everybody else got that up. Why ain't you got it? Only reason you ain't got it because you won't read that book. Other than that, listen, look, I guarantee you. Now, there is, I'm looking at it now, and it's sad, but 50%, let's say 100% of all Christians, all Buddhist Brahmins, Islamists, and the Hebrews are Christians. So it don't matter. So any type of people who use the Bible, right? If 100% of them actually read OWASP, 50% of them would say, oh, this just makes sense. And then there's going to be that 50 who just died. Okay. And I ain't trying to convince them niggas. Y'all dead weight. I hate to put it that way, but fuck y'all. We got to go over there. You know what I mean? We're going over there. And then the crazy part is, once you really get an understanding of OWASP and you learn what shalom is for real, that's that peace that comes from inside. So shalom is wherever you are. Look what they say. Search for the evidence of my footsteps on the earth. Find the people, find them niggas. We're the only ones in the world doing this. Hottest thing on the goddamn internet. Hottest thing in the conscious community. Can't be stopped because they can't beat Jaja. If they ever read the book, they would never debate it. You'd be a fool to debate OWASP. About what? Compared to what? What you got to compare to it? It ain't a book like it. This is what we keep telling them. Ain't nothing like it. It's different. I've never read nothing like it. I've read Coburn's. I've read Urantia, which they keep trying to say is like, oh, they're nothing alike. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's an ignorant nigga who just didn't read the books. Just in the style of writing alone, you can tell they're totally different. And then when you actually look into what the fuck they saying, these niggas still praising God. And then it's actually you praising the lesser God. You praising what Jesus would be. And because Jesus praised a greater God. They don't even call him creator. So God, no, hell no. Urantia nor Coburn's. Now, I will tell you this. If we was going to make a movie, that goddamn Coburn's, that thing is like, what's dude that made the Cholula, Demiurge months? Listen, he got some stories in that goddamn Coburn. No, I ain't gonna lie. I read Coburn's. I had read through Coburn's and Urantia multiple times, at least twice a piece, because they are interesting and it's almost like truth. And I think Jaja just knew I would probably bug out if I really linked off into Urantia or Coburn's. So he brought the old Waspy around. You dig what I'm talking about? Because you know what I mean? Yeah. Goddamn, man. Listen, do y'all remember around the 2000s when they had what was the big thing? They had the 2000 time in destruction thing. They had the end of the Mayan calendar was supposed to happen. Then they said it was 12 years later. And then they said it was 7 years later, according to the Egyptian calendar. And then ain't none of that shit happened. They didn't know what the fuck was happening. They still don't. Ain't nobody but a faith that's told you nothing about the age of Aquarius. They talk about you. They tell everybody. Nobody but a faith has told you when it started. Only they knew. And I'm the only one to know of faith is that actually brought the information out. Or anybody who told when we went into the age of Aquarius. So niggas just be lying. They want to be spiritual. They want to be righteous. They're just not willing to do right. You dig what I'm talking about? But he say, search for the evidence of my footsteps and find the people who stand by the Creator. Go look for him. The all one, the God of all, who can shake their faith. Now, could you imagine trying to go up to Selah Shalom as a Hebrew and just trying to get that nigga to praise God instead of the all one, the Creator? And they trying to, yo, brother, did you know in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, nigga, you was cursed? You think what I'm talking about? Could you imagine the self, how foolish you would look trying to come to me to sell me on goddamn false God where to come praise anything other than the Creator. You know how stupid we be looking at the niggas. You think what I'm talking about? We probably just start laughing like, bro, it's all right, man. Let's go. You don't even know who you talking to. I'm Jaja boy for real. You think what I'm talking about? Try to sell us on Jesus. Go ahead. You dig what I'm talking? Man, I would giggle so much on them. Sell them some Muhammad. Go ahead. You dig what I'm talking about? Okay, try to get us to praise Dionysus. I'm gonna love this one. Go ahead, go. You dig what I'm talking about? Get us to praise Osiris next. Okay, let me hear the pitch on Osiris. You dig? Man, you know how goofy they would look. So that's what he's saying. Go look at the faiths, them niggas who know me. They rock solid. You could never get them to praise Jesus. Not after you know the truth. Nigga, we wouldn't praise Osiris, never. Nobody else neither. And the only reason we praised any other God because they told us they was the creator. They lied. That's the only reason. You had to trick us. Now people waking up. And it's a whole paradigm shift behind this shit. Y'all call it the information era. Okay. I know this as a time. This is a halftime. This 200 years is going through the roof. It's going to be some shit in 2048. Hey. You know what I'm talking about? Cosmon going to be exactly 70. Ooh. But look, he said, look at them niggas. Who can shake their faith? Who could tell Cosmon about Jeebus? Now, I want you to go over there and I want you to sell Jeebus to Cosmon. Go, you got it, go. Man. Or feed them with your stories, with thy stories of a savior born a woman. Sometimes I feel stupid as fuck when I look back at you know what I mean? But it's all growth. You did what I'm talking about? And I wanted this. I never wanted to be this. I never was the slow nigga. I never wanted to be the guy behind. But I wanted it so I could bring my dog with me. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. And I knew that the dudes I was hanging out with had solid foundations. And if nothing else, on the love of me alone, and then they knowing that I would never lie to them. That if I told them something, it'd be worth looking into. They say if a man can just raise one man, he is already on the path to being a god. Come on, man. You know how hard it is to get up a nigga to believe something? And believe it enough to look into it. Too. He say, hearken to the voice of the millions of Chinese and Vindu, or ancient China and India, and the remnants. Ooh, who is the remnants of the Algonquin? Who is copper colored with long black coarse hair? That's from the Americas. Is there anybody that looks like that? Only the Negro. Okay. So we know who the Algonquins is. The Algonquins is the niggas. And guess what? Out of these people of India and out of these people of China, it's only in Algonquins, it's only the people who is the Algonquins that's telling you about the creator today. So who else is breathing Owaspy? We know we ain't Chinese and we know we ain't Indians, East Indians. So we must be from the Algonquins. Well, who is the only really 3-4 people in the world really bringing it out like this and making it explainable and understandable for my people. That this ain't taking nothing. This just lining everything up in order and putting it on the timeline and allowing you to prove it. So you always know what to go back to, what to look for. I'm telling you, I traced mine back. I found another seventh great grandmother. Right here in America. No slavery. Own land. As a matter of fact, I found my 7th great grandfather and my 7th great grandmother. Shout out to well, you know, hopefully they pump me up. Shout out to Ancestry. Let's see how this work out. Yeah, shout out to Ancestry.com. It's the last one you're gonna get for free though. So the only people in the world that's bringing it, that know they ain't Chinese, that know they ain't of that Indian stock, well, the stock that is what we would call that is now the lowest is called the CD or the Sidu. You dig what I'm talking about? And they are the lowest caste. But if you look at them, they look like they could be Africans. But if you look again, they look just like American niggas. They might have a little of that African cut in them. But they got to be your people because they the most despised. You know they hate us. But they hate you everywhere in the world. So even if them your people just through the struggle alone. So we don't turn down nothing over here. We know in the end of the day, we all one thing. Man, we all supposed to do one thing. Praise the Creator. How do you praise the Creator, Cosmon? By cleaning your body out and doing good stuff for other people. That's it. You ain't got to do no prayers. You ain't got to do no meditating. You ain't got to buy no books. You ain't got to do none of that shit. Live to your highest life. Do the best you can. But while you're doing that, live a vegetarian life and do good stuff for other people. That's it. Y'all niggas make this shit harder than it gotta be. Now, this is for somebody who really got into this book. I can break it down like that to its very last compound because that's what the fuck it's saying. Hearken to the voice of Chinese, Vindu, and the remnants of the niggas. Their Bible's our power. Woo! When I read that, man, the first time, I said, dang. I ain't gonna lie, I said, dang. He say, they Bible. Who? The Algonquins. He say, they Bible is a power. And we just really bringing this shit out. Shout out Selah Shalom. You dig what I'm talking about? Bringing this thing out. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to my, that's my little bro. That's my little big bro. You dig what I'm talking about? That's bro. But dig, right? He say the Algonquins, the niggas, their Bible is a power. Their people, who? My people today, the faithers, are appalled at the work of thy bloody sword. Huh? And they talking about the God of the Bible, but they also talking about man on earth. They are appalled. Who? Us. We appalled at the work of that bloody sword in that book and in our hands. He say, they will not fall down and worship as thou decreest, as you want us to believe. Why? Why not, Cosmon? Why won't they fall down and worship? They know that Jehovah is mightier than you. Ooh, nigga, you can't win. You can't win. And that's the security that we got over here. We know whatever y'all trying, you can't win. You can't. You know what I mean? It's like lions and baby deer. We know what you're going to do. And even if you do it, you can't get away. So we'll play with you, run you into the punches, really show the sweet science. Huh? I equate debating to boxing, if y'all hadn't seen that. Be thou considerate of all races of men. I thought this was interesting too. Because we're all men, but there are races. In their doctrines, rites, and ceremonies. Behold, I raise up the nations of the earth in my own way. Niggas don't tell me what the fuck. You can't tell Jaja what to do. Shut up. He do it how he want to do it. And guess what? You can't do nothing about it. He say, according to the times and conditions of mortals, so do I deal unto them from my heavenly kingdoms. So what y'all can perceive and grasp, he did to you. This is why you got stories about talking snakes and a man living in a fish belly for 3 days. And this is why you got them stories. A bush talking to a nigga. Because y'all couldn't understand it no other way. So he gave it to you how you could understand it as man during them times. He say, thou hast tried on all my people to convert them. They've been trying forever, man. How many slaves? Listen, I even blew my mind the other day when I was getting back into the list of slaveries and oppressions applied by the God of the Bible onto his own people, purportedly his own people. He cursed them with slavery under the Egyptians, under the Assyrians, the Persians and the Medes, the Babylonians, the Macedonians, the Greeks, the Romans, and you could say Macedonian Greeks at the same time, whatever. The Romans, then 1,000 years consecutive under Islam and the Caliphate and the Muhammadans. And then at least another couple hundred years here in America. I thought that was like super heavy-handed. You dig what I'm talking about? That's like a daddy that whoop your ass all the time, right? But when he whoop your ass, the ass whooping kind of stopped. You dig what I'm talking about? He may not whoop your ass for another 2, 3, 4 days to the next weekend until he get drunk. Then he whoop your ass again. But even a hard daddy, stop at some time. The man, the God y'all purporting to praise and y'all want us to praise, has consistently enslaved you for more than 3,500 years. Let that sink in. Consecutively, back to back to back. And every time you get a little, kick you in your ass, put you in slavery. And then tell you he gonna do it. He tell you. This the dude y'all want us to pray. I'm straight on him. He ain't did shit for y'all. You in the same boat as me. Actually, you not. Actually, you not. You know what I mean? You're not even in the boat. Huh? But you trying to tell me about ships. See how ludicrous that is? That's a man talking religion to a person who has true spirituality and belief in the Creator. It's like a man on a cruiser and one swimming in the ocean with no boat, but he trying to tell you about how to run boats with your boat. Don't let these people talk to y'all, man. All right? Don't let them talk to y'all, man. Because most of them just do that. They talk. You know what I mean? Now, remember, let's clear this up. Right? Hold on. Because they had another one I wanted to get to. We're going to go down here and we're going to just, because they talk about JBN and him supposed to be killing babies. He killed 2 babies in Shalom, right? Remember, he died in 1891. You dig what I'm talking about? Now, they had been coming out there to see these people from 1884 to 1891. And then they kept coming after that, after JBN died, and after they sold the land in Las Cruces. A lot of people don't know that they kept them babies for that next 10 years. Watch this. Let's see what they say about the babies. And let's look at when the babies died, right? Let's just look at what they say about it, because we got to clear it up, right? Okay, now look. They say babies was dying. Remember what JBN was doing? He was going to get the orphans, the people that was found on doorsteps and in front of churches and fire departments and shit. They was just leaving the babies out there. They call them foundlings. Huh? You dig what I'm talking about? But look, let's see what they say about these little kids, and let's see what they say about the deaths that happened around JBN. And did any happen around JBN? You dig what I'm talking about? We're going to clear that up. And remember, they said it was 2 babies that died, and then it was 12 that got starved to death. We're going to look at them situations too. Now, mind you, we can't listen, didn't nobody know nothing about old Washby who was black. You can't hold us accountable for what these motherfuckers is doing, bro. But some of these people was living right. And you got to look at it fairly. Look, JBN says, I wish I were where 10,000 babies fenced me in on every side, wrote Newborough to a friend in 1883, the year before he arrived in New Mexico and established Shalom. In a subsequent letter, he describes the living conditions in orphanages. This is the deaths that are accompanied with JBN in the time in Shalom, because no babies died in Shalom. Look at this. In subsequent letter, he describes living conditions in orphanages that made his efforts to acquire babies for the colony so urgent. This is why he was going so hard. Look what he say. We lost, this is JBN's words. We lost one little babe, which we brought away from the almshouse. That's the Poe house. That's the CPS. You know what I mean? This is where the orphans go and the foundlings. Though it was nearly dead when we received it. Why? Because it took months and months of bureaucratic red tape to get these babies. And by the time they was getting them, the babies were so sick, they was dying. Before they even got back to Shalom, they was dying. To me, it is perfectly appalling how these little things are slaughtered in this city. We hope to save many and to raise them up in the right way so as to have a new race by and by. And once you find out that he had 2 mixed kids and a black kid there, or 3 black children, shit, what you think he mean by a new race? Look what they say. Surprisingly, Newborough's conception of a new race was free from the scientific racism then prevalent. So kill me with that. Oh, he's the slave masters. You have slaves. That's so stupid. Just because he white, he had slaves. At a time when eugenicist notions of racial purity were ascendant in American society. So while eugenics was high, popping at the time, what Newborough was doing. Newborough's conception of a new race was free from scientific racism. Newborough took in all the babies he could get a hold of. Baby boys and baby girls of any race and class. However, the number of babies he was able to bring to Shalom was not high. Few of the settlers entering the colony had already had children, and bureaucratic hurdles made it hard for Newborough to adopt. In a letter of 1883, Newborough writes that there is so much around about red tapeism to be gone through in order to get a child out that it dies by the time permit is granted. Look at that. This is before moving to Shalom. The babies was dying. They was going through so much red tape to get a baby up out of there. They was dying before they could even get them. And they was still in New York. They was in New York trying to get babies from New York. And they was dying. Can you imagine the conditions? Now, mind you, these is the horse and buggy people. Shit everywhere. Horses just... Ugh. Said the baby dies by the time permit is granted. So before they could even get the baby out of there, they done finally worked to get the baby up out of there. The baby gonna come home on Thursday. On Wednesday, it died. So no babies died in Shalom, because we're going to go on to see that all the babies from Shalom lived. A southwestern farm and orchard profile of Shalom, written 10 years after the establishment. So this is in 1894. He had already been dead 3 years. JBN counts only 12 babies living there, among them a Negro and at least one mulatto, at least, but there were 2. Before the colony's demise in 1901. The faith has also adopted a baby of Chinese descent. The children had one thing in common. All had been orphaned, and most were among the poorest of the poor. Such were the children that John Ballou Newborough hoped would inherit the world. Now, I want to show y'all this part where they talk about the babies. Here we go. Although the commune's children were raised, now look at the babies. That's a mixed baby. That's a mixed baby. And that's a baby. That's a nigga. 100%. These 3 niggas. And that's Hajjah. No, that's Tale. That's Hajjah. Second God in tech. Huh? What y'all know about Hajjah? Huh? You don't know nothing about that there? Look at Vohu. Right. Now look, let's see what they say about the babies. Now, these are all the babies that was there. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 10 of them. These is the 10 that finished. Now in 1894, 3 years after JBN died, they had got 2 more. Now watch this. Although the commune's children were raised on a highly ascetic environment, that's quote unquote like religious, farm and orchard. This is a newspaper. Observed that they appeared healthy, although not robust. Also remarking one noteworthy fact about them. We have made several visits to the colony and never saw one of the children crying. Never. We made several visits to the colony and never saw one of the children crying or looking unhappy. They are always running about at play, and they are the most cheerfully obedient lot of children we ever came across. Sound familiar? You read Owaski, then you already know what's up. These babies was getting taught some things. Tension abounded, however, among Shalom's adult. Communal labor was difficult. Irrigate. So let's go back. Let's go back on to prove that. Now this is about where a dude it's actually a funny story, man. A dude sued him. You know what I mean? He lost. But the judge was drunk and he got to talking about Lil Mong like Lil Mong was a real nigga that they knew. You know what I'm talking about? As it was funny, man. And so look, shit get tight, right? Now his boy Howland and sold all his thing. You did what I'm talking about. The people revolting on him after JBN then died. Niggas is mooching. Look. Mooching was a problem that Shalom, like many other utopian communities, was unable to avoid. Dirty ass niggas. But see, now Jehovah Kingdom on earth teaches how to void you niggas out. We know how to pick through you. You did what I'm talking about. And we gonna let you convict yourself. Though some were drawn in New Mexico by the opportunity to work in harmony with like-minded and determined individuals, shout out to the creative gang, others exploited the colony's resources. And while faithist boosters predicted that Shalom would eventually adopt 2,000 or 3,000 babies, the number of children adopted never rose above 28. So they had 28 kids. In July 1970, an article in New Mexico Historical Review, Daniel Sigmundson suggests that the colony's failure was mostly a consequence of insufficient human and financial capital. Its labor force was inadequate. Newborough's band was largely comprised of romanticists and amateur metaphysicians. We're not going to go through that this time. Who had little aptitude or for physical labor. Finally, although the Owaspy Bible had indicated that converts would be inevitable, they never appeared. The lack of adequate force was then compounded by the loss of financial backing. Over the course of his involvement with Shalom, Andrew Howland had sunk his entire fortune into the colony upkeep of these 28 babies. What none of them is. Into colony upkeep and unprofitable agricultural ventures. He didn't know what he was doing. And by 1900, he was reduced to selling cookies called You Like'ems door to door in the neighboring village of Doña Ana as a last-ditch attempt to support Shalom's 24 children. The colony dissolved. Howland, who had put the deed of the colony in the name of the children, successfully sued to have it transferred back to his own name and sent them off to foster homes and orphanages, a heartbreaking development for a group of children who had, by all accounts, had a loving upbringing. Shalom might have failed, but for 17 years, it provided 28 orphans with a safe and happy home. But let's go look what is they talking about when they talking about these people that killed these babies. Look, remember, JBN is in Las Cruces, Mexico, doing the right thing. He trying to get his thing together in Las Cruces, right? Look where these deaths is now. This is they talking about the Brotherhood of Light. They say was Owaspy users. This is what they say. The Brotherhood of Light in Arboles, Colorado. So we ain't even talking about what the fuck went on at Shalom. We see all 28 of them babies got up out of there. Most of them had 17 years in. At least 10 of them did. You put 10 years on them babies, they 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. Look, but the Brotherhood of Light in Arboles, Colorado, starved 12 children to death on an Owaspy coat farm in 1906. You dig what I'm talking about? 6 years after the remnant of Shalom had died. You dig what I'm talking about? And 15 years after JBN had been dead, these niggas trying to tie this shit of these goofball niggas in Arboles, California, in Colorado, to JBN. You see how goofy they is? 6 of those deaths occurs in 1 month. 2 cult leaders were indicted on 6 counts of manslaughter. None of them found guilty. One man that they said was crazy pled, and I think he did 6 months in the crazy home. What about this? Solicitas Fratania in Placentia, California, starved 2 children to death on an Owaspee Bible cult farm in 1895. Wait a minute. That's 4 years after JBN was dead. And this is in California. What is y'all talking about? Did y'all know 119 people, black people, were lynched in 1895? Sorry about the babies. That's a horrible thing. But did you know they hung 119 people who looked just like me in 1895? Huh. The first one was a 1-year-old infant that was raised on peeled apples. The child at 1 year of age was skin and bone. The infant could not even move. The second child was Alex Hindy. She was 18-year-old daughter of the cult leader George R. Hindy. She was not fond of Owaspee. Now, I'm going to look into this because something is telling me that they may not even be Owaspee. This is just being applied to it because I didn't see niggas say that the Branch Davidians was Owaspee niggas. That's not true. I done heard people say that David Koresh and them niggas was Owaspee niggas. I done heard people say Waco, Texas had something to do with Owaspee. No, it didn't. So they say all things. So we just show and prove. You dig what I'm talking about? So the fanatical leader locked her in a room for 2 years and she died of starvation because her father fed her bread and water. This is another one. Another cult leader, Ray Schlittman, was murdered on the Four Winds Village Owaspee cult farm in Tiger, Georgia in 1986. $10,000 in cash was stolen out of his room the same day. Mind you, I show you that to say, first of all, you can't, didn't y'all niggas read the book? How could you get duped on some of this shit? That's y'all fault. You dig what I'm talking about? Goofy ass niggas do goofy ass shit, win goofy ass prizes. I don't even feel bad for these people. If you got tricked because you didn't read a book and you just believed what a person said, you're a fucking idiot and you deserve to get tricked. Now, Owaspee these nuts. We not stupid people. You dig what I'm talking about? We don't just go for anything. You know what I mean? We don't go for anything. But on the closeout real quick, let's look at what real people and scientists at the time that Owaspee was revealed, because what y'all gonna find out is that JBN was big time. JBN was big as any Creflo Dollar. They knew JBN. All across the world, he was world renowned, especially in America. There's no way they hid. Listen, you had to hide this. The spiritualism movement had been cracking shit 50 years. $45 years by the time JBN death. Really before that, but it is what it is. But look what they say. The demand for Owaspee is unprecedented for such an expensive book. Sound familiar? How many of y'all got Big Blue? Throw me a 2 in the chat if you got Big Blue. Y'all still rocking with me? Throw me a 2 in the chat. You dig what I'm talking about? If y'all got Big Blue. They said the demand for it was unprecedented, just like it is today. Dr. L.B. Selsinski, the Orientalist and scholar, said, listen to what he said. This is in October 21st, 1882. Owaspy, it just came out. He said, I believe, look what he said. Now, this is an Orientalist and a scholar, right? He said, I believe no man could have written such a book. No man could have written Owaspy. JBN say he didn't write it. The angels say he didn't write it. When you read Owaspy and you see how vast the amount of knowledge is, you learn no man could have written about this, and especially about the shit that he talking about that's going on today. It didn't exist in his time. None of it. It would be the work of a, look what he's saying. This is J.L. Setlinsky. He say, L.B. Setlinsky. This is October 21st, 1882. Just about a month or two after the book it got printed. Where did it say? Let me look. At the time, it was $7.50. That's a lot of money at the time. So Selinsky, the Orientalist scholar, said, I believe no man could write such a book. It would be the work of a dozen men for a lifetime to produce so great a book. Extracted from the Kindergarten Homes Owaspy Publishing Association, 1882. Let's look what the New York Times said. Dr. Newborough's Owaspy, published on October 21st, 1882, an inspired volume giving the history of 24,000 years. Several persons gathered at the house of Dr. J.B. Newborough on 128 West 34th Street last evening to examine a new Bible called Owaspy, which was written by Dr. Newborough. We know that that's not true, or sort of true. The Bible, hold on, let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. Booyaka. 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 Okay, here we go. The Bible, the new Bible is supposed to give the history of the earth and the heavens for 24,000 years and is written in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors. It is a large quarto volume, over 900 pages. Now, this is how you know they read in the 1882 copy, because the 1881 had what? Over 1,200. Mine has 1,553 pages because mine has an addendum and the story of JBN in it. That's the 1891 copy. And is published by an association consisting of 7 persons. Dr. Newborough, after the book had been examined by those present, told the story of its writing, prefacing his remarks by saying that the object was not to supplant other Bibles in religion, but to set forth a history of all religions, going back 24,000 years. Yeah, there's a way to put that. He said it was for all races and peoples. Is he correct, y'all? Yeah. And explain the private affairs of angels and their relation to mortals. It showed why heaven what did it say? It showed why heaven was worth living for. He also said that he was not familiar with the ancient religions or languages before he wrote the book. So all that, I came back from Africa, from Australia, and I traveled to Egypt. He traveled to Asia. He traveled to, he didn't do none of that shit. And he didn't know none of this shit. He didn't know nothing about Osar. Definitely ain't know nothing about no Zarathustra. How you know the nigga was the Indian? Fuck out of here. Nobody was saying that at the time. He had He had written it automatically, his mind having no connection with what he was writing. In fact, he did not know from one day to another what he was penning on paper. He began his work in the spring of 1880, an impression coming over him that it must be done. When he began, a bright light settled over his fingers. This would last 15 to 30 minutes, and it disappeared. He could write no more. It always left his fingers cold and stiff. The work also could only be satisfactorily carried on at sunrise. This light, he continued, seemed to impress him strongly. He thought it was similar to the light of the burning bush, which talked with Moses and which was the most common way of revelation to the sons of men. He continued his work for a year, lacking 2 weeks or 50 weeks. I could not read it, for the light would not let me, he said, and I did not know the contents of the book until it was ready for type. After he had finished the manuscript, he said money began to come from entire strangers who said they were impressed to send it to him. From England, $1,000 came, and about 2,500 was received from Boston. One roll of greenbacks was simply wrapped in a piece of paper with no envelope about it, and it still got there through the mail. Bet you that couldn't happen today. They're gonna have a good day in the post office. This money, he thought, was clearly meant for the publishing of the new Bible, and consequently, the association was formed. The book had been before the world for about 3 weeks, and 52 copies had been sold to the clergymen in this city and its vicinity. There had also been sold 200 copies to intelligent citizens. He refused to give the names of the members of this association, saying that it was composed of 7 persons, including 2 women. The agreement between the members called for $10,000. Some members had contributed $1,200. It was printed with plates in this city where all the engraving was done. Whatever money should be obtained from the sale of this book was to be used in establishing kindergarten homes for orphans in this city. This is New York. There were no salaries given to anyone. Professor Thomas A.M. Ward then spoke a few words concerning the book. He said he was an Egyptologist and had deciphered the legends in the hieroglyphics on the obelisk in Central Park. Hold on. I didn't know that. Hold on. Obelisk in Central Park, New York. Oh, shit. They call it Cleopatra's Knee. I didn't know this. And it do got hieroglyphics on it. Oh, schnizzle bubble. 10 little known facts about the Central Park obelisk. Cleopatra's Needle. Ooh wee. I didn't know this. Oh no. This is crazy. Hold on, let me. What is this? Hold on. Cleopatra's Needle in New York City is one of three similarly named Egyptian obelisks. The 15th century BC stela. 15 BC. 15th century BC. Huh. So they stole it from Egypt. Was installed in Central Park west of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Manhattan on February 22nd. Damn, 1881. Okay. It was secured in May 1877 by Judge Elbert E. Farman, the United States Consul General at Cairo, as a gift from the Khedive for the, what is a Khedive? A Khedive is an honorific title of Persian origin used for the sultans and grand viziers of the Ottoman Empire, but most famously for the Viceroy of Egypt from 1805 to 1914. Oh, okay. For the United States remaining a friendly neutral as the European powers France and Britain maneuvered to secure political control of the Egyptian government, as transportation costs were largely paid for by the railroad magnate William Henry Vanderbilt. Y'all need to look into them Vanderbilts. The eldest son of Cornelius Vanderbilt. Also get into the Morgans too. They got a real good book called nice thick book, but it's good reading, man. Slipping my mind right this second. But so it was a gift. Let's see what it say. It was originally erected in the Egyptian city of Heliopolis on the orders of Tutmosis III in 1475 BC. The granite was brought from quarries in Aswan near the first cataract of the Nile. The inscriptions were added some 200 years later by Ramesses II to commemorate his military victories. The obelisks were moved to Alexandria to set up the Caesareum, a temple built by Cleopatra in honor of Mark Antony or Julius Caesar by the Romans in 12 BC during the reign of Augustus, but were toppled sometime later. This had the fortuitous effect of burying their faces and so preserving most of the hieroglyphics from the weathering. Oh, wait. What does it say? Okay. Banner name: the crowned Horus bull of victory arisen in Thebes. So these are the Theban kings. This is New Kingdom. Yep. This is right after Amos the first set it up. Okay. The Lord of the Vulture and the Uraeus crowns prolonged as to the kingdom, even as the sun in the heavens, O Tum, Lord of On begotten, son of his loins, who hath been fashioned by Thoth, whom they created in the great temple with the perfections of their flesh, knowing that he was to perform kingdom prolonged through ages, king of upper and lower Egypt, Min Keparah, aka Thutmose III. This is not Moses. This is Min Keparah. Loving Tum, the great God. This is with his cycle of divinities, who given all life stay and sway like the sun forever. North face, banner name, crown horse, tall with the southern crown, loving Ra. Why do they call it the Cleo? Okay. I guess they did explain it. The king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Menkapa Ra, the golden horse, content with victory, who smiteth the rulers of the nation hundreds of thousands, inasmuch as Father Ra hath ordered unto him victory against every land, gathered together the valor of the scimitar in the palms of his hands, to broaden the bounds of Egypt, son of son, Thutmose the third, who giveth all life forever. Inscriptions of Ramesses the second. Okay, so Thutmose wrote on a part, and Ramesses wrote on a part. Translation of the south column of the east face banner, the crown horse named Bull of Victory, son of Khepera. Oh, the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, User Mara, Ramesses the second, the chosen of Ra, the golden horse, rich in years, great in victory, son of the sun, Ramesses the second, who came forth from the womb to receive the crowns of Ra. Fashioned was he to be the sole ruler, the lord of the two lands, Usamara, the chosen of Ra, son of the sun, Ramesu, Remiun, glorified of Osiris, like the sun, life-giving forever. North face, the crown horse, bull of victory, loving Ra. The king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Usamara, the chosen of Ra, son born of divinities, taking the two lands, son of the sun, Remesayu, Remayun, uh, Mayamun, excuse me, from the youth, beautiful for love, like the orb of the sun when he shines in the horizon, the Lord of the two lands, Usimara, the chosen of Ra, son of the sun, Remesu, Mayamun, glorified of Orion, Osiris, life giving, like the sun forever. Ooh, that's dope. Okay. I didn't know that. Huh. He said he was an Egyptologist and had deciphered the legend. So, Professor Thomas A.M. Ward. Let me look. Let me look this up. Who? Was his name Thomas Ward? Okay. Hold on. Now I'm interested. Thomas A.M. Ward. What's this? Okay, Thomas Ward. Thomas Ward did have something to do. Well, I'm gonna get into that later. That's dope. Let's see what he say. Thomas A.M. Ward then spoke a few words concerning the book. He said he was an Egyptologist and had deciphered the legend of the hieroglyphics on the obelisk in Central Park. The letters used by Dr. Newborough corresponded wonderfully to the Egyptian hieroglyphics. Dr. Seleniski, also an Oriental scholar, said he studied the book and had come to the conclusion that man could not produce such a work and believed that it was the work of supernatural agents. This is what two scientists, an Egyptologist and an Orientalist, has said. Dr. Newborough has, and this nigga writing hieroglyphics perfectly. How? Dr. Newborough had been a spiritualist for about 12 years. He was a native of Ohio and is now practicing dentist. He is a man of large stature with dark, dreamy eyes and very slow in his action. To a casual observer, the Bible seems a conglomeration of revised editions of Indian and Semitic religions. The style is in one place modern and in another ancient. The English of the King James Version of the Christian Bible is mixed in with the English of today. And this is from the New York Times, October 1882. Now, this is from October 29th, 1882. The following are extracts, and we gonna get up out of here soon, y'all. I just wanted to see what the thinking men of the time was saying. The following extracts are from a lengthy review about Owaspy published in the New York Herald, the 29th. So, shit, 8 days later. In the New York Herald, this is the New York Times. Public interest in such a book, a new Bible, means a now revelation, a new revelation, a new prophet, and a new disposition. Not everyone, it is true, takes the same view of these things. There are those skeptics who think there are not now and never was a divine revelation in the ordinary religious acceptation of the term. There are those who think there has been such a revelation, that such revelation exists, but who have their doubts as to the genuineness of the authenticity of existing so-called sacred books. There are those again who believe that there have been a series of revelations, but that the latest, that made in person, work and teaching of Jesus the Christ and developed by the apostles, his immediate followers, was final. Little account here is made of other pretended revelations, the sacred books of the East, the books which embody the teachings of Buddha, Brahma, and Confucius, the Quran, the Book of the Mormons, and others. This is the less necessary that we are dealing with a book which professes to emanate from the same source as the sacred books of the Jews and Christians, such being the diversity of opinion regarding revelations. It is not to be expected that all those we have attempted to classify will take the same or equal interest in them. No proselytizing necessary. What is the object of such a work? One is tempted to ask. There is an immense machinery called into operation, and so-called history of heaven and earth, and for many thousands of years unfolded. And when we get to the end, having read the last and almost pleasing book and most pleasing book through, the book entitled Jehovah's Kingdom on Earth, you cannot help asking yourself, for what purpose is all this? The ideal of the work is high. It aims at purity, goodness, peace, education. The education of the young is insisted upon. And there is in the last chapter a description of the Temple of Apollo, which our New York magnates might do well to read, but you look in vain for a system, for a creed. The New York Herald closes its lengthy review as follows. A faithful explanation of the work as a whole shows that it is opposed to all creeds and systems of religion. Listen. And that it is an elaborate argument in favor of vegetarianism and every other ism by means of which animalism may be eliminated from the human nature. Extracted from Kindergarten Homes again, 1882. Summary of reviews, extracted date 1882. Professor C.A. Cummings says, the immensity of the scheme of the book is overwhelming. You can't tell me these were some dumb niggas. But what they don't understand is we understand. This thing is amazing. Listen, I couldn't imagine. Listen, we've seen men purportedly go in the moon, blast off into space, all type of shit, machines and walking around androids. We've seen cloning. We've seen all this crazy shit. And Owaspy blows my mind in 2022. Could you imagine some of these goof ass niggas in 1882? Even the smartest of them was goofballs. Imagine it blew their tops. And it's still doing it today. 141 years later. He said the immensity of the scheme of the book is overwhelming. As a literary phenomenon, it passes all other books. Let that sit in for a minute. What I've been telling y'all for years. Owaspy the coldest. James Weissmacher, MD, says, my first question was, well, if it be a revelation, how do we know if it's true or false, right? But when I had read sufficient, look what he had to do. He had to read it and then judge it to be able to comprehend. He had to read it enough to comprehend that it was an immense poetical picture of the universe, I was ashamed of my question. Woo! Let it sink in. They get it. They get it. They try. Most just try to deny it. But those with open minds who are just trying to learn, they get it. They tell you, couldn't no man have wrote this. Ain't no way JBN smarter than me. This is what they saying. There's no way this nigga could have wrote this shit. He said, but when I read, he had to read it sufficient to comprehend, just to get a glimpse that it was an immense poetical picture of the universe. He said, I was ashamed of my question. Alexander Meyer, he says, no man, as I can see, can criticize Owaspy. To review it justly would require a knowledge of all the mythology and sacred books the world has ever had, and it would take a lifetime after that to do it. Who the fuck is these niggas arguing with? They got the nerve to toot their lips and tell me about something they don't know nothing about. I've been in a decade. You don't even love the creator. And then when you try to overthrow him, what you going to replace it with? Bible? The fuck out of here. Look what smarter people are saying than you. Smarter people than you are saying, man, it would take a lifetime to do this. You would have to, he said, to review it justly. You would have to, it will require a knowledge of all the mythology and sacred books in the world has ever had. Have you read every book the world has ever had? Look at the New York Star. In the narrow limits of a newspaper article, it is impossible. Look at the words they're using. No man. Impossible. You know what I mean? Literary phenomenon. Look at that literary phenomenon. He says overwhelming. Look at the words. He said it's impossible to give more than a faint idea of the scope of Owaspy. It brings the history of heaven and earth down to the time of the administration of President Lincoln, and farther. Because wherever you didn't know, it was bigging up Trump. It gave a shout out to what will be happening during this time. Religio Philosophical Journal, October 21st, 1882. To give a detail of the plans of this Bible Owaspy with its hieroglyphic and astrological illustrations would set the reviewer's pen at defiance. What? This is a writer who's saying, nigga, I can't do it. While spiritualism clings, see, this is why we different. While spiritualism clings to the old Bible, the last thing it could consistently do would be to oppose the Owaspy. Let it sink in. These niggas who looking Smart people who done put the time and the work in. Ain't none of y'all niggas did this. Ain't none of y'all PhDs and professors, MDs, none of y'all. These are people who are disciplined. He say the last thing that old Bible could do was consistently to oppose the Owaspy. They already lost. They don't even know. Owaspy is the name. Look what he say. The graphic. Owaspy is the name of the new Bible, which an enterprising publisher announces. It contains not only all that will be found in Professor Max Muller's work, but a great deal more. Professor T.A.M. Ward, this is Thomas Ward again, the Oriental scholar, said Owaspy is the book of the age. Look at that. How long is this age we in? We're in the Cosmon era. This age is 3,000 years long. He telling you, man, can't shit fuck with Owaspy. It marks a new era in the progression of man. The Truth, the New Yorker, the Book of Cosmogony and Prophecy. Look, the Book of Cosmogony explains the material universe, the creation of worlds, the laws of motion, the causes of animal and vegetable life, and more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in the philosophy of modern scientists. Wow. It is a book of over 900 quarto pages with a glossary, index, and plates, the titles of which are not the least remarkable feature of the new Bible. The first 750 pages are devoted to a history of the universe down to the time of the discovery of America. It would be more easy to say what they do not contain than to enumerate their contents. Whew. Nigga, he just said, nigga, it'd be easy to tell you what Owaspy don't say than to try to tell you what it do say. We just clearing it up about JBN, man. We ain't making none of this stuff up. These are people who are smarter than these Hebrew niggas who actually read the book and seen in scope, and their minds are blown. Owaspy, to say the least, is written masterly. Look at the words. Above, look what he say, above all ordinary books, and in the vein of a monotheistic adoration equaled only by other sacred books. Look, and we only giving it up to the Creator. I have been inclined, this is Professor Alex Wilder. That last one was Thomas A. Mercer. I have not been inclined to be partial to professed revelations. Now, this is a nigga who don't believe. And the various assumptions of spiritual authority put forth under a pretext of some divine commission. Uh-oh. So he not buying none of that shit. What may be obligatory on the faith or conscience of another is not for that reason binding upon me. In considering the new book Owaspy, I am guided by this sentiment. One of the early Christian writers has certified to us that prophecy came not by the will of man, but that only holy men spoke as they were influenced by a Holy Spirit. I see no good reason to presume any inferior afflatus for Owaspy unless it is apparent in the doctrine or other aspects which the book may present. Other literary works have been given to the world equally independent of the volition of the purpose of the writers, and have secured a candid reception. Nevertheless, John Bunyan has given an apologue to his Pilgrim's Progress with a similar explanation. It is preposterous to charge the nonconformist tinker with plagiarism. Yes, the Roman de Trois patronages have been written 3 centuries before, and the English translation printed in 1483, The Pilgrim of Perfection by William Bond, was published in 1526, and Bulwer's Pilgrim Progress in 1627, the engravings of other features resembling Bunyan's work, such as analogies of the Slough of Despond, Vanity Fair, the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Other treatises were also extant, which means they existed, as the Parable of the Pilgrim, the Pilgrimage to Paradise, the Pilgrim's Journey toward Heaven, the Pilgrim's Path in Jerusalem. Now he brought that up to say, if JBN is plagiarizing this work, taking this work from other shit, we would be able to look around and see something like it that would be extant at the time that he could go back and right. The occurring of so many analogous publications without conclusion is hard to explain with perfect candor and justice. The ideas and principles, features in Pilgrim Progress were present in the religious world of that period. However, the atmosphere was certain of the inspiration. The air was full of it. And men like Bunyan, Bosworth, and de Quilleville were suitable agents to give form and voice to it. So he's saying, bringing that up because this shit was around at the time, and dudes like Bunyan, Bosworth, and Delaquille gave form and voice to it because it was around. Now let's go back. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes of it. The story of receiving and preparation of a wasp appears to be one of the same character. The volume is too large and its scope too extensive to permit much to be said of its intrinsic merits. There are specimens of picture writing and various word symbols that it is not impossible to associate with those of the Chinese, the Egyptians, and prehistoric races of America. If the assumption that it is a sacred history of 24,000 years, as well as a synopsis of matters previous, may be received as substantially authentic, the curious characters may be genuine likewise. He's saying if the assumption is that this is a sacred history going back to the flood, as well as a time going back to man, he say, may it be received as substantially authentic. So what none of this shit around that he could have drew this shit from. So stop with the he just put it together. He did all man, y'all lying. It is not in my purpose to give an extended review of this volume. There are many references and expressions peculiar to the scientific and philosophical and physiological notions of the present century, which will be revised as knowledge becomes more thorough and philosophical. I find in many words and ideas which belong to various old nations and worships, and am led by such facts to admire. The ancient faiths of Persia, India, and Egypt have contributed largely to the inspiration of Owaspy. Many names are found belonging to Semitic, Aryan, Lyric, and Arctic languages, which is curious and cannot have been deceptive. What? Hold on. I have no wish to write this work up or to dismiss it with a sneer. Let everyone who is curious read it and judge intelligently and candidly. What does he say? This is a nigga who don't believe this shit. He don't believe nothing because the Lord said. Fuck your Lord. He's saying, read it and then judge it intelligently and candidly. Why are you scared of that? But look what he say. It is a marvel. Whatever it is, it's a marvel. The arrangement and construction are not ill. That means they right on time. They fit. Indeed, if we are to accept the work, we would find much to praise in its ingeniousness. Look at the words. Look, he say it's a marvel. It is. Y'all gonna come on to the Creator. Y'all gonna come on. And I don't want your apology. Just come on and do some work. Where it approximates the faith of any ancient people, I notice somewhat of a following of their style of expression. This may be imputed to copying, but there is nothing of the sort. The resemblance is more in tone and sentiment and diction. I have a curiosity to witness the reception which this volume will receive. Boy, you worried about if a white boy wrote it, you better worry about what's in it. Telling you, the nigga say, I open the heavenly libraries and I find my living sons who once turned the earth at that time. And they're like, I cast down the mortals in the stream of fire. This is why you think JBN knew the ancient religions. This is why you think he knew. But he opened up the lives of the priests at that time. He rebroadcast that shit down. He opened the lives of and records of people who was living at that time. And recast their lives back down. You dig what I'm talking about? And y'all gotta understand it's still indirect information. Creator, you don't need nobody, you don't need no middleman, you don't need no Jesus. Things happen because he is. So if he want to tap in direct with you, he tap in direct with you. That's what our whole book is for. The whole purpose of Owaspi is for you to learn how to hear the Creator's voice. Live and conscious, 3D, surround sound. You don't need no prayers. You don't need no Jesus. You don't need no meditation. You don't need to get high. You don't need no drink. You don't need no smoke. You don't need to pop a molly and sweat. Nigga, you're going to be able to hear it loud and clear. That's the whole point of our book. So you can tell where you're going to go before you die. Ain't that dope? Ain't that fair? Man, Creator call. With that being said, man. That being said, let's get some shout outs real quick, man, to everybody in the came through. Let's go ahead. We got Ray, we got Sherilyn, we got Shabir, we got Ray in the house, She Brew. You dig what I'm talking about? Got She Brew in the house. Shout out Stephanie Randall. You dig what I'm talking about? Thank y'all for staying around. Sheila Shalom in the house. Sheila Shalom TV. Peace to the righteous God. You dig what I'm talking about? Kevin Sears said, Creator Gang is in the house. You dig what I'm talking about? Did our people, what did you say? Did our people make covenant with Luamon? Yeah. He duped them. He duped them. You dig what I'm talking about? The shit, they made one with Ball and Astaroth too. You know what I mean? Many of them made some with Thoth Gabriel, who you call Allah. Allah, the false Allah today is named Michael. He's also called Yeshua. Yeah. The God of Allah, the false God Allah of Islam, usurped the name Yeshua and Michael. Yeah. It's crazy. Dig what I'm talking about. Basil in the house. Basil in the house. Or a light. Ray, what up, Ray? Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. You dig what I'm talking about. The lion of Yah, the lion. The lion man, them do big man thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Jabari don't know that. He don't know. He don't know a lot. You dig what I'm talking about? They describe that as penis of the Egyptian god. Oh, y'all talking about the obelisk. Yeah, I've heard that too. You know what I mean? Because remember, first of all, the story of Osiris was written as a myth. Let's get this understood for all you Commission. It was written as a myth. That means the story that the myth comes from existed before it. Let that sink in. The story of Osar was preceded by a whole nother story. Remember, y'all talking about Osar and Isis, or Ast, Aset, Osar and Aset. Yeah, them is mythologies taken from Tammuz or Damuzi and Inanna, chopped up in so many pieces. He brought everything back, but his penis, she somehow inseminates herself. This is where the understanding of the obelisk comes from. It's phallic. Shout out to Shebrew. Yeah, she right on that. Nazarene, the scene faithist. Peace, love. What Ray talking about? Peace, love, kindness, patience. But there is no law, faith, self, discipline to others, and hope, faith, and love. The greatest of these is love. That's right. That's right. My brother. Young Malachi the King. Peace to the God. Y'all go over there and subscribe to Honor Humility STL, man. Y'all subscribe to my brother Bronze Yogi too. The sister Deshawn LaFay, the intuitive goat. And then y'all go down there and subscribe with the Nazarene and Faithist sisters. You dig what I'm talking about? Shannon Logus. This was good to hear. Ain't no debating this at all. Oh no, ain't no debating at all. You dig what I'm talking about? We just clearing it up for JBN though, man, because they be hating. You dig what I'm talking about? Stupid ass niggas, man. You dig what I'm talking about? Who's a 33rd degree Mason? No, you ain't. But you dig what I'm saying? With that, man, you know, we ain't gonna keep you too long, man. Your boy Cosmon kept you too long anyway. So with that, breathe in, let the light in, man, because I'm Cosmon and I'm out.
and oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh,
it's that Jehovih, that chow mein, that palpable, that towel main. Since sunset in the arc of Wayne, my brain moving like Tao Sane. So as above, it's so below. That up and that down thing. This flow is atmospheric. I call that a ground game. See, water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning. So how your God make a sun without vortexing and current? See the pattern is ponic. I'm reaching out for my people. Oh, watch me flow through your speakers. You feel the force of the ether, and when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing put equal. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN. It's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sealer. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door star. In the 4 million I make, I'm giving the Dr. Umar, oh yeah.
Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah.
Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahuin is now a Angui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God's, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me, Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oh, watch me flow, it's so potent. Set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you making salat. Well, I'm an Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faith is so yeah.
Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air.